Hello, I am MrDroo, and this is my story. I remember it like it was yesterday. After finishing my shift unloading trucks at Walmart, my friend Josh invited me over. He said he had this awesome new cardboard thing he wanted to show me. He said you could put your phone in it and experience virtual reality. I was curious, but my expectations were low. I stepped into his room, and that is when I saw it. This box. A cardboard box with a little strap on it. He told me to place it on my head, and I did. I was half expecting this all to be a prank, but then he inserted the phone into the box. It was at this moment that I was a believer. I was instantly transported from reality and placed directly in the middle of a solar system simulation. As I saw the planets whiz by, I remember looking around in pure amazement. I felt small. For the first time in a digital experience, I felt small. I believe this is where virtual reality wins. This is where virtual reality bridges the gap between us and the digital realm. The ability to see scale firsthand is something that no other digital experience has ever given me. This cheap, cardboard, head-mounted phone holder gave me more immersion than any other video game or movie ever has. I remember driving home in pure amazement. I could not stop thinking about this unreal experience that I had just had. I decided that I would set some money aside and purchase the Oculus Rift, which promised even more immersion. Instead of a cardboard phone holder, the Rift allowed me to harness the power of my gaming PC. I placed the order and waited for what seemed like an eternity, but then one day, when arriving home from work, I saw it. The Oculus box sitting in front of my door. I picked up the box and ran inside to my PC. I got the headset all set up and installed a few free demos. There was one demo in particular that I still remember to this day. Clicking start on the demo transported me into a big empty hallway. It was quiet and a little eerie. I started looking around at a couple of paintings on the walls, and that is when I heard it. A distant thud and heavy breathing. My heart started to pound as I squinted down the long hallway. The thudding grew louder and more frequent. I started to panic as I saw it, a T-Rex running straight at me. It stopped seconds before squashing me, and with its huge nostrils sniffed me. I stood completely still, in hopes of not alerting it of my presence. It then walked over top of me, and the demo was over. My adrenaline was pumping, and I was once again in pure awe of what I had just experienced. Sure, other games can make your heart race. I'm thinking of you, Elden Ring. But this was something special. I was actually there, inside the game. Part of the experience. Not just a dude 2 feet away from a screen, looking down on the character I control. I was the character. After I exhausted the Oculus store of free demos, I stumbled across a free game called VRChat. If I could describe my first moments in VRChat with one word, it would have to be overwhelming. There are not many places where you can see Dora the Explorer and a giant toothbrush get in a fistfight, but VRChat is one of those places. The universe of VRChat consists of 99% user-generated characters and experiences. It houses a strong community of supportive, creative introverts who I soon discovered were obsessed with staring at each other in in-game mirrors. This place was weird, but in a good way. In an accepting, fun, exciting kind of way. I soon found myself spending hours upon hours in VRChat, making friends, singing karaoke, watching movies, exploring worlds, playing games, and unfortunately, even staring at a mirror here and there. I'm not quite sure why, but I quickly became addicted to the wacky virtual worlds of VRChat. After a couple of months of spending all of my free time in these virtual worlds with my new friends, I decided to upgrade my setup. I bought index controllers and Vive trackers, allowing my fingers and entire body to be tracked while in VR. This only fed into my addiction, making it harder and harder to leave this weird world I felt pulled into. I started to sleep while in VR, only removing the headset to go to work. It was as if the virtual world was my primary reality, as if I was living in this metaverse and only leaving it to keep the body I was plagued with IRL alive. I remember having dreams of the VR worlds I had explored and not knowing if they really happened. My mind was always focused on VR, and I was living for VR and the fun, always different experiences that VR promised. It wasn't until at least 2,000 hours of VRChat that I realized a crucial problem. Although VR can be immersive, realistic, fun, exciting, and liberating, there's always this dreamlike veil that separates the virtual from reality. It is as if there is a glass wall, keeping us from truly existing within the worlds we feel like we are inhabiting. No matter how immersed, no matter how connected I get to the experience, this wall still exists. No amount of technology, software, or hardware upgrades will remove this barrier. This feeling of never really being present took a toll on me psychologically. It pulled me into a lonely depression that lasted for months. This depression drove me to play VR more and more in hopes of finding a cure, of having the same excitement that I had on day one. This tragedy snowballed and grew worse and worse, pulling me deeper and deeper into the fake world that I had created for myself. The world that, while feeling so real, was always out of reach. This is VR addiction at its worst. It's the promise of something new, exciting, fun, freeing. It's the promise of an escape from reality, a substitute for the real world. This promise comes with one major compromise: the compromise of reality. The compromise that everything you are experiencing is out of reach, that none of it is real, but rather a dream. It is a false hope, a wish, a band-aid to the real issues of our lives. It is the digital carrot that is always out of reach. So what is the cure to this addiction? I found that the cure to my VR addiction was simply realizing this veil, this barrier, the realities of the virtual reality. Once I was aware of the causes of my depression, I was able to set my priorities straight. VR became less of a second life and more of a temporary escape. My IRL life was no longer my secondary life, but my primary. Putting down the headset was not an easy thing to do. Like any addiction, it kept pulling me back in. VR was on my mind all of the time, and this got worse the longer I kept the headset off. Things as simple as seeing a YouTube video of some VR update or game release was all it took to push me past the edge and throw me back into the virtual realm. In order to kill this addiction, I unplugged. I kept myself from accessing the internet entirely, for 2 entire months. Whenever I felt the urge to hop online, I would take a walk, or do some chores, or read a book. The first couple weeks were brutal. I remember having mental breakdowns as my body begged for just 1 minute in VR. After about the 2-week mark, something changed. Every day got a little easier, and about a month and a half in, I did not crave VR at all anymore. My addiction was cured. Although it can be a terrifying, destructive experience, VR is amazing. I still play VR almost every day, but in moderation and with a different outlook. VR is a wonderful addition to our IRL life, but should never become a replacement for it. Like all things in life, there is a fragile balance. This was my story. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. I just wanted to add this little outro to the end just to thank you guys for watching. If you like this kind of content, please leave a like, a subscribe, and a comment. And this is really my first storytelling video. The first one that I scripted out, I wrote it all out. It's a true story of my VR addiction. And I just hope you guys really enjoyed it. And I hope if you're struggling with some sort of addiction, whether it be VR, whatever it might be, that maybe this video will help you kind of understand how to fight that addiction. Addiction's a terrible thing. It's so hard because it's ingrained into your brain. Like your body really craves whatever your addiction is. And really what I found that helped with that was just completely dissociating myself from the issue. And the issue was VR. That was like the main issue. The secondary issues were like content that led to VR to like push me, to tempt me into throwing VR back on, which is like YouTube videos and stuff like that. So completely disconnecting from the internet was like really my only solution. I tried stopping, like tried to stop my addiction many times, of like just trying to like cold turkey stop, and any like the slightest little thing, like a friend talking about VR, VR video, anything like that, pulled me back in because it made me like want to go back in there like even more. So completely disconnecting from the internet was really my only solution, and it worked, guys. Also, the other main part was changing your mindset. So instead of having a mindset of like VR being this other reality that you like own, like instead of having that mindset of it being your second life, I guess, changing that mindset to be more of, okay, VR is more of another thing, just like a video game. It's more of like Discord or something I can talk to my friends on, like a chat platform. And it's not necessarily me. It's not my second life. It's a tool. It's like an addition to my only life, to my actual life. And that mindset really helped me like fight this addiction that I had, because this addiction, I realized, stemmed a lot from me like believing subconsciously and like even like wanting to believe that my virtual life, my like VR life, was an actual like life of its own, when in all reality it was just some fabricated excuse of an escape from my real life. And it can never really truly replace your real life, and it's a dangerous thing to think that it can, because you will get sucked into it and you will never be able to get rid of your VR addiction as long as you believe that it's some second life of yours that you're living. There's nothing wrong with role playing. Like, there's nothing wrong with jumping into the game and pretending you're a character. People do it like a Skyrim, like RPGs and other types of games all the time. But there's a difference between role playing and actually believing that you are living that second life, and that's really the main difference. And once I realized that, it made fighting this addiction a lot easier. Now, I was still addicted even after that mindset change. It was still hard to get off of the game, to get off of VR completely. That's why I had to completely disconnect from the internet. But I hope this helps you guys if you are addicted to VR or to video games or to drugs. Drugs are a whole nother issue. But if you are addicted to something, then I hope this kind of mindset of how to fight this addiction will help you as well. And if you have any experiences with VR addiction or anything, feel free to share it down in the comment section. I might see it and respond to you. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you did like it. If you don't like it, leave a dislike. It's fine. You guys are amazing, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.